Hi, so I'm going online a little bit later than usual, but figured we might as well do it at least a little bit. So yeah, here is the sketch so far for the world. It's Link again. Because in the Persona games, the world is usually like the ultimate version of the starter Persona. So yeah, but I'm going to redraw Link in a completely new pose just to make it new, and yeah, the thing is, the original Link's Persona art is so old that Breath of the Wild hadn't come out yet. So it didn't have any elements of Breath of the Wild stuff in it. So I decided to make everything based on Breath of the Wild and Breath of the Wild 2 when it comes to the new version of Persona. Here is the original, by the way. More classic Zelda stuff. There's a lot of Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask here, and here's Link. So it's basically the same Persona, like the same structure with changed aspects. I actually changed it considerably more than the Ultimate Personas tended to be. They usually have more elements in common, but you know, just to make it more interesting. What's up, Largan? So yeah, here we have some like ancient armor for these parts. There's the Sheikah eye here, so we can keep the face white. It will look a little bit more like Sheikah mask. The hair is just going to be big and yellowy, like the long untied, I guess. What's the word? Like not in a ponytail hair that Link has in Breath of the Wild 2, and his arm is going to have. His arm from Breath of the Wild 2, if you've seen the trailers, it kind of starts black and then goes into glowing blue, and he's using ancient sword and shields. It's actually missing. I haven't drawn it yet, but he will have another arm back here. It just won't be very visible. You basically only see kind of the hand popping out. Nintendo, oh, looks neat. Thought that was separate piece outside of the Arcana series at first. Yeah, no, it's basically the last one of the basic Smash Persona things. Really cool use of Breath of the Wild design. You've forgotten to change the text, by the way. Oh yeah, thanks. I always forget that. Oops. No. Alrighty. So yeah, I was doing some other stuff, and I wanted to have a post scheduled for tonight, so I wound up going online a little bit late today, but still it's been a while, so I wanted to figured I'd rather do a shorter stream than no stream. So this armor will be barely visible, so I'll leave it very sketchy. So the thing I'm currently not super happy with is Link's face. I'm trying to make these last two especially. I'm trying to imitate more the Persona style. The eyes I hadn't been drawing that closely, so I'm pulling up some references here. One thing in Persona is the eyes tend to be really far apart. The world is Ganon? No, it's a version of Link's old Persona. Here it is. Like the ultimate version, like the world is always the ultimate version of the original Persona that you start the game with, which is the full. So here's the full, and the world is going to be like that in different kind of gear. So it has the hair and the arm from Breath of the Wild 2 and some ancient armor and ancient gear from Breath of the Wild. Ganon's already a Persona. Also from before Breath of the Wild, I think. I don't know, that was a little bit after, but I think Breath of the Wild wasn't out yet when I made Ganon. Or was it? Yeah, I don't think it was. Anyway, I want to take some more references from Persona here to fix up this portrait. I want to get rid of the other layers so I can see it better. So yeah, the eyes are always really far apart, but I don't know, when I draw it just looks weird. Getting a Sheikah upgrade with tech, yeah. Yeah, they're usually like really powerful weapons, so it makes sense as better. And then it works, you know, in a more cohesive way with the Breath of the Wild 2 arm. Let me draw this again to be sure that everything is where it needs to be. Pretty funny how they managed to invent lightsabers and smartphones with stone and magic. Yeah, I don't know how clear it is whether it's magic or just really advanced technology. I guess when magic exists, you're always going to integrate that with technology. Not much reason why you wouldn't. They didn't have to be separate things. I think with him being this from the front, I don't really need this line to be visible all the way up his nose. Maybe like this it looks better. Then this would be shaded. I was thinking of having like a lot of shade in his face. like basically all this area. I don't know, that makes him look a little bit too evil. Well, definitely involved Ancient Fire that you're sent to collect twice, and Ganon was able to corrupt most of the attack. Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I feel like this now looks okay. Maybe just change the expression a little bit. Yeah, I think this is about right. Oh, I drew the arm on the wrong layer. Alright. This arm's a little weird. Looks a little big. I think I just pull the whole thing closer to Link a little bit. Like this. I also have this one closer to his body. All right. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. Sketch the persona sketch. I think I don't have to. Oops. Don't have to elongate his leg this far, just so we can visualize both at the same time. So yeah, and this the energy pieces. Yeah, I think it can start on lines. I feel like I'll start on Link because I'm more likely to want to revise the persona than Link himself. Yeah, let me look at this Link again, make sure. I need to transfer all the design. I'm going to do this. Just him. Can be over here. Just as a reference. So we'll make sure it's consistent. pretty much one of the best things in the series is the Master Cycle Zero. Is that the motorcycle thing, DLC? I didn't really use any like DLC or amiibos or anything. I mean, this is not really the style. I'm kinda going by the old one, but the old ones I really didn't make that much of an effort to imitate the art style of Persona. So it's just kinda doing anime hair. I'll be a bit more. There's a prize for Champions Ballad. Yeah, I didn't really do that. But yeah, seems cool. My girlfriend's finally playing Breath of the Wild now for the first time. And the other day she couldn't sleep and she wound up just playing Breath of the Wild all night and completely messing up her sleep schedule. Like one day I think she had done one Divine Beast, and then next time I checked she had done all but one and visited basically all of the maps. Yeah, I wonder what they're going to do with Breath of the Wild 2, with the whole thing of it being in the same world. Like, I guess a bunch of the land was lifted into the sky, so it changed it up, but I remember them saying it would be basically the same overworld. So they're like, I feel like most of the development of Breath of the Wild was making the world, because it's very carefully made, like it guides you through it very well. Like a lot of overworld games feel very kind of empty and uneventful, and like just a bunch of space between important points. But Breath of the Wild was really good at making, like kind of guiding you to find interesting stuff in a big world and being interesting to navigate. So having that already kinda done, I feel like they could do a lot of other interesting things, like maybe bring back more elaborate dungeons that the first one didn't have. Apparently the developers bought a real dirt bike to see how it works. Yeah, that's a good excuse to buy a dirt bike. Then you can also write it off on your taxes. It's a business expense. After I collect all of the Korok seeds, I'm going to replay in master mode. There's a lot of things, all the Korok seeds. How long is the Breath of the Wild like 100% speedrun? Like, because I feel like I heard that it's mostly Korok seeds, just because of how many there are. Like that in shrines, of course, but it's kind of built around the Korok seeds because there's just a ridiculous amount of them, because you're not really expected to, you know, find most. And it's like exponential, right? Like each new slot takes more and more Korok seeds, so it's easy to just have a million of them in the game without completely breaking it. I'm getting way too elaborate here. I just need to have a plan for the general general shape. The 100% world record, 17 hours. Yeah, there's a lot of hours. With limited breaks, yeah, I imagine you would stop a little bit just to function. Like you kinda have to eat. Hi, what's up? There the I don't get it. There the mage bard. I don't get what to do with the D in the middle of that name. It's really neat if you could still explore the original world in the sequel, but the additional, like the reconstruction of civilization in progress. Yeah, I think that's kind of the idea, is that they will take the old world as a basis and then just change it a little bit. I don't know. The red mage bard. Oh, the red. Okay, I was reading it as there. Okay, that makes sense. What's up? Yeah, I don't know if... I mean, I imagine there will be like more towns and stuff, which could also be cool. But I think the main changes is there seem to be like a bunch of land floating now. And like in the last trailer, Link was kind of falling from the sky in the beginning, so I guess there will be more just vertical movement. I feel like they're probably kind of adding layers to the world and having vertical stuff. Like the ground floor would probably be similar, and then stuff just added on top. Not a lot. Popped in to say hello. Well, thanks for dropping by. Yeah, we're doing a bit of a shorter stream today. I couldn't log on in my usual time, but I figured might as well do at least a little bit. Alright. Okay. Just adding the final details, so I can just come here with the inks and know exactly where to draw. Now just the details, which are kind of Persona 3 inspired, like his jacket. I remember the lines and the way the zippers work are based on the uniforms from Persona 3, I think. It's been... how many? 6 years? It's forever ago. So yeah, there's the little zipper things. It's kind of weird to have it so scented. Let's have it here. Bada bing, bada boom. Then here's his spout. Alright, alright. Yeah, and I think the rest we can kind of figure out as we go. Let's now do this. And do line link. Alright. A bunch of my friends ended up commissioning you because they love your style. Oh, thanks. I don't know which friends those were, but it's always nice. Amazing stuff all around. Yep. I'll reopen commission soon, but like my other job's been fairly busy, and I knew this was coming up. It's for follower count, so I just left it off a little bit longer than usual. Oh yeah, I didn't watch the direct, the last one really. I looked up the Metroid Dread thing because it's kind of my job to be up to date on that, but that really didn't add much, which I'm fine with. I don't like when they end up spoiling the entire game just to keep hype alive. I like how they announced Dread pretty close to the release and then just coming out. I feel like that's better. So yeah, I don't know much what else happened. There's a new Bayonetta, I guess. I saw a lot of people drawing her new design, which is good. I didn't really like the first Bayonetta, but it's not my kind of game. I never could get into Devil May Cry, so it's just not for me. And what else was there? There was the Mario movie thing, which I don't know if like people seem to really like the cast announcement. I'm fairly indifferent, I guess. Like, seems fine. I just don't really like how, like nowadays, for a while now, animated movies, like they see the need to have famous screen actors doing all the roles, and like they spend their whole budget hiring really famous Hollywood actors when there are so many voice actors, you know, who do really good work in that field, and you know, they don't have the look of people, they don't necessarily, you know, have the look of people who get to be Hollywood stars, and they can kinda have some people, you know, who, when they were younger, were actors, get to be voice actors a little bit longer because age doesn't show as much in your voice if you know how to do it. So I think it kind of sucks that it kind of puts a glass ceiling on their career, because like the really big movies, they're just going to use screen actors. But yeah, I don't know, is the movie still going to be made by Illumination? Because I don't know if they ever made anything good. Like when I saw the announcement at first, they said it would be Illumination, which are the Minion people, and that doesn't seem to bode very well. I don't think people are liking the cast announcement. It's being made fun of. Really, I saw people seeming to... I don't know, the things that I saw, people seem to think that it was good. But yeah, that's probably like most of the budget for the movie, and I'm sure, you know, very normal voice actors. If they just made a selection process for voice actors, they could have gotten people to do a better job for like a tiny fraction of the price. I'm excited to see it regardless. Let's see how the movie goes anyway. Yeah, sure, like they can always make something good. It's kind of interesting material because there's so little to work with. It's really up to the people making the movie. Like if there was a Zelda movie, you'd think like it would be more on the execution, right? Because the expectations would be pretty clear. Like you'd think it's a fantasy movie, like fantasy movies exist. Adventure fantasy stuff is a genre, and like the basic outline of a Zelda story can work for a movie, and there are movies with very similar, very basic stories. Like you build on top of it, there's plenty of material to like expand on the basic Save the Kingdom narrative, like in the games, that could translate into a movie. So it's more about like the execution. But a Mario movie, I feel like most of what's going to decide whether it's good or bad is going to be in the very big strokes, like the general idea. What are we going to make this movie? Like what's the tone going to be? What's the appeal going to be there? Because the story can't really carry a movie at all. Like Mario and Luigi save Peach from Bowser is not only like too basic, but it also kind of keeps Peach, which is one of your handful of characters that you have to work with, like it keeps her locked away, so it's probably not a great idea. Stardeck, thanks for the follow. What's up? So you know, it's kind of maybe not the best idea. They probably want Peach like interacting with Mario and Luigi like in the cartoon. Xeno the Kid, thanks for the follow as well. Yeah, unless they do like a Paper Mario thing, but that's like a lot more work to kind of have Peach have a side plot while being locked away all by herself. Like the Paper Marios do that like by giving her someone to interact with, and she's the B plot. That would probably be a good way to go about it, but I'm not sure. They probably want all the characters interacting a little bit more, because they're going to want to make the appeal be mostly comedy. like a travel comedy kind of thing where they keep running across different Mario things. Because there are a lot of Mario things that people will want in the movie, but most of them are just kind of simple. So they probably work best on like one scene and then move on. Like have characters other than Mario, Luigi, Peach, Bowser, and Yoshi, and like maybe a Toad or something. They're probably, you know, just gonna run past Mario stuff. Like there will have to be a scene with bob-ombs, where bob-ombs exist and they explode and you make some kind of joke about that. But then you're never gonna see a bob-omb again. I'm excited to see the Mario movie 2, but I don't have high hopes for it. I'm kinda hoping it turns out terrible. Like so bad it's good. Just think it would be more fun that way. Yeah, I kinda talked about that in another stream, I feel. Like when I talked about like the first Suicide Squad. Like when a movie is at least enjoyably fun, it's worth it. But I kinda doubt that it will be. I feel like it will it's more likely to be legit good than bad in like good. I doubt it's going to be like good, but it's more likely to be like competent and well made than so bad is good nowadays. Because the bad animated stuff is usually just super formulaic and generic. Like, you know, like emoji movie kind of stuff. Or any of those kind of toy movies. Or bad in an annoying way, because they try, you know, to shove a bunch of like catchphrases and loud noises to just distract the kids for long enough for the parents to think they enjoyed it. Bob-omb existence and lifespan was also a sub-central theme in Origami King. Life is what you may covet. I don't know what Origami King is, I think. I'm really hoping it's not formulaic, but it's very likely. Yeah, I feel like it will probably be pretty formulaic. I think like the best case scenario is like the Lego movie. I don't know if you guys watched the Lego movie. I never watched the second one, but I watched the first one. And that movie is so much better than it has any right to be. Like, it's legit a really good movie. It's funny and it actually has some like good themes. And you know, it's working on one of those like it's like a franchise thing, it's like a brand thing that's way too broad and not made to be a movie, so you kinda have to invent something to make it a plot, you know, that kind of property for adaptation, and they did an amazing job with it. And that also starred Chris Pratt, but you know, voice actors can't like make or break a movie so much, I don't think. Like comedies often give them like the ability to kind of improv and influence stuff, but only to a minor extent. Paper Mario Origami King, yeah, I'm not even sure what that is actually. I really like the original 2 Paper Mario games, but after that I just disengaged. Yeah, I love both. Some people thought that it was going to be a cheap product placement movie, but in the end it really is literally one of the best. But literally no one said the word Lego at all. Yeah, I mean they don't know their Legos, right? And yeah, they just took the tactic of, you know, making a legit good movie and figuring, you know, that's the best advertisement for Lego, is to have like a good movie that people will want to see. And it was really good. So that's for me is like the, if they were making the Mario movie, they should have that as the thing to strive for, you know. The example to follow should be the Lego movie, because they took this thing that has no plot, which Mario basically has no plot. It just has like a bunch of imagery associated with it, and they made a movie out of it that's funny, that does all the kinds of things that you want to see in a movie based on that, that has a theme that's actually like related to the main thing. Like to the thing that you're promoting, but is also like a valid theme for a story. Pretty much the gold standard. But just like, just the fact that they partner with Illumination kind of makes it feel like what they wanted was to have control over how the brand is presented and have someone who will make it sellable, right? Because again, they're the Minion people. Their model is very based around like making a thing that you can make merchandise out of. And Nintendo makes a lot of money from Mario merchandise. So they're like, you know, make this a commercial, basically. Make it a thing that will make people want to buy Toad toys. Or like notebooks and things. Because they probably could have partnered with a better studio. Like Disney made Wreck-It Ralph, which is basically like a bootleg version of like arcade Donkey Kong. They probably could have partnered with like a big studio to make the Mario movie. But they would want, you know, a big, like a well-regarded studio would want creative control over the movie, because they have like a reputation to uphold as people who make actually good movies. And Nintendo would probably have less power there to say exactly what they wanted in the movie and didn't want in it. Especially considering that, you know, Nintendo just made the Mario movie and then like in the early 90s and never made another movie again because of how much they felt like that went wrong and damaged their brand. Like only now they're trying again, and the lesson they probably take from that is we shouldn't just hand it over to Hollywood people and say make whatever you think is going to sell nowadays, which is basically what they did with like the original Mario movie. They didn't even bother making it in any way kind of Mario, which was basically the approach for video game movies back in the day. Like they would give it to writers, directors who didn't even know what the video game was about or care about it, and just figure, okay, whatever, it's like a name and a brand, and let's let's make a movie just by making the kind of movie that has been successful lately and slapping the name of the game on it, but it doesn't have to, bother to actually follow whatever happens in that game. And that really didn't work for Mario. It ended up as a really interestingly... I don't even know if it's a bad movie, actually. It's a really interesting movie. It's so odd. Like, it's not terrible. It's not good, but it's not terrible. It has nothing to do with Mario. Like, if you wanted a Mario movie, you're definitely going to be disappointed. But... And they could have done something way more interesting if they had gone, actually committed to trying to make something Mario instead of like a kind of generic fantasy cyberpunk thing. But it's not terrible. I wonder what the alternate timeline looks like where the first Mario movie was good and Nintendo made a dozen more movies. Yeah, I don't know, because back in that day, like, it would take so long after that for there to be any kind of video game movies that like respected the source material at all, that I feel like, the Zelda movie would have been whatever fantasy theme had worked around the time it came out, but with Zelda, They probably would have made... Like, fantasy wasn't very in vogue at the time, so they probably would have made a Metroid movie first, and it would have been just bootleg aliens. Like, Samus probably wouldn't even have worn armor throughout the majority of the movie, because there would be no precedent for a movie where the main character is wearing armor all the time and you can really see their face. So she'd probably wear like armor in one scene, and the armor would be like gray, because we don't want to be too weird visually. It has to be more plausible looking. And she'll wear it for one scene just to say that it happened. And Mother Brain would be like actually a person and not really a brain in a jar. There would be no space pirates, it would be just an evil corporation, because that's the way it is in Aliens. And we don't want to have to build too many animatronics. I'm guessing that they might make a reference to the old movie in the upcoming one. That's very likely. There will probably be a very kind of basic reference to it. I don't know if it has a release date yet. I assume it's a bit off still, since they only now shared the cast. It's probably going to be next year. But there could be a good Mario movie. They just has to like embrace the kind of surreal thing like get some good artists to come up with cool worlds. You know, some decent comedy writing. It could be pretty good. They should probably skew very young, like the target audience. So it's probably not a movie which, you know, I'm going to like love or anything, but they could do a good job with it. But I think there was a mentality for a really long time that movies were like a bigger deal, more prestigious art form than games. So having a movie based on a game was kind of seen by the community as like some kind of affirmation of the medium. Like, oh, they made a big Hollywood movie based on the game. Games are a big deal, you know? Like, this is going to be the ultimate form of this story because they made a big, expensive movie of it now, you know? When it was games, it was kind of on a limited form, but as a movie, you have like the true ultimate version of it. Look at the logo, it's like the game's logo, but they like put textures and lights on it so it looks more high budget and fancy and worked on. But I think we are kind of past that. Yeah, the video game industry is just a bigger industry than Hollywood. It has been for a long time. So having a Hollywood movie is kind of whatever. Like, if it works, it works, but you know, it's not like, you know, when the first Mario Bros. Movie came out, most people, almost all adults, didn't really play video games or know much about them. So a movie coming out can kind of rewrite the perception of something. It's like kind of superheroes, right? Like, they can exist in comics for 100 years. The moment you make a Hollywood movie about it, it will be the most well-known version of that character and of that story, because comics are a very niche thing. Video games aren't a niche thing anymore. So like, the movie isn't that big deal that's going to like overtake the public perception of the thing. The movie sucks, it's just kind of whatever. Like, even with Mario back in the day, like, the movie didn't influence people's vision that much because Mario really had kind of broken through into general popular culture. Even if most people had never really played Mario, they knew about it and they had absorbed like the visual idea of what Mario was, and such a different movie wasn't going to like override that, much less nowadays. My guess for the Charles Martinet cameo is that he's the original Jumpman who fought against Cranky Kong in his prime during the arcade game, since Cranky Kong has a listed role in this popular theory that Jumpman actually Mario's father. That actually makes a lot of sense. That's pretty likely. Yeah, I never really sat down and thought about it when they announced the cast. I even completely forgot that Cranky Kong was announced. Yeah, for Cranky Kong to be in a Mario movie and to be like listed when there, I don't think they even reached like 10 rows. Like, there really weren't that many characters that they named the actor for. It could be just an artifact of them happening to get, you know, someone a little bit more famous to do him, and that's what elevated him to be on the list. But that actually makes a lot of sense. They wanted to have Donkey Kong in there because, again, not enough workable Mario characters to put on your movie. Might as well just lump Donkey Kong in there. Yeah, if you're gonna have Cranky Kong, that makes a lot of sense. You know, yeah, I don't know. When they announced Charles Martinet without like announcing a role for him, they just said, "Oh yeah, he's also going to be there." Like my immediate thought was, he's just a tiny cameo, and they put him there kind of out of obligation because people would find it disrespectful for him not to be in the movie. So they just found something tiny for him to do. His character is not even named, but they just want to let people know that he is there so they don't complain. That was my immediate thought. But considering that Cranky Kong is in it, that actually makes a lot of sense. And that sounds like a modern movie thing that they would do. Not that it makes any sense for Jumpman to be like in the Mario games themselves, for Jumpman to be Mario's father, because Pauline is at most Mario's age. Like she appeared in Odyssey. Plus, it stated somewhere that Donkey Kong Jr. is the same arcade era as his current Donkey Kong as well. If Mario was Jumpman during this time, it'd obviously be about as old as Cranky. Yeah. But I don't know if Cranky's age is ever said. Lifespan. How long does a gorilla live? Gorillas live 35 to 40 years, so Mario could just kind of be young. Like gorillas age about twice as fast as humans. But in the end, now there's a concrete timeline across the series. Yeah, they even changed. Cranky Kong used to be Donkey Kong's grandfather. But in Donkey Kong 64, they retconned it so that he's Donkey Kong's father. So Donkey Kong is Donkey Kong's junior. Because like in the original Donkey Kong Country, Donkey Kong would be Donkey Kong Jr.'s son. Because Cranky is very much implied to be the original Donkey Kong, like by the opening of Donkey Kong Country. But at that point he was the grandfather. I kind of figured that monkeys age faster. I know Cranky is the OG Donkey Kong, but I figured Jumpman's Mario. Yeah, I think it's like supposed to be in the games, because again, Pauline didn't age, so having Jumpman be Mario's father doesn't really fix much. Unless there's like Pauline Jr. It's a different Pauline because the first one was blonde. I don't know. But yeah, they don't really care about the timeline. Unless something else happened, like Pauline ended up in a similar separate incident. I don't know what you mean incident. Chances are there will be a dance party ending where everyone does the Mario dance from the TV show and Odyssey. That is depressingly likely, yes. Oof. Yeah. I don't know. I just don't see. Let me see something. What did Illumination do? Illumination Studios. Assuming that's Illumination Entertainment. Minions. They did Sing, which is like a movie about a reality show, which is kind of odd. 'Cause, like, the point of a reality show is that it's supposedly, you know, like real people, so having it in a movie is kind of redundant. Oh, they did the Lorax. They do alright. They do the horrible Dr. Seuss. This movie is going to suck. I forgot they did the horrible Dr. Seuss adaptations. Yeah, never mind. This movie is 100% going to be garbage. I was just thinking of the Minion stuff. I think, okay, that doesn't bode well. But, you know, as an adaptation, they can do something a little, you know, who knows how they work with other people's properties, but no, that's just gonna be awful. Because Dr. Seuss, you know, there's even a kind of similar thing when it comes to like a fantastical world. That's, you know, kind of creative and magical and childlike, and they specifically ruin that kind of stuff in the Dr. Seuss stuff by making everything loud and pop culture-y and hyper energetic. So yeah, this movie's going to have zero chills. It's going to have pop culture references just constantly. Like, the way to have Mario content in it for sure is going to be just, let's make like Mario memes. Let's make like really basic Mario jokes. There might be a joke about whether the mushrooms like make you high, whether the mushrooms are drugs or something. Like something that's still like kid appropriate, but like nudges in that direction, because that's the most obvious Mario joke in the world, and they're not going to resist. They're going to be like, no, we need to make the 2005 Newgrounds joke that everybody thinks about, the most basic thing possible. It's going to be like Facebook humor. Mario doesn't have a constant canon, but it's fun to pretend that it does and make theories based on little details. But that's just a theory, a game theory. Um, there's an image I love called the Mario timeline, which divides the series into a dozen timeline splits and crazy theories. Yeah, that could be fun to make like the Zelda, because the Zelda ones are already pretty silly. Like obviously, there's always going to be like contradictions and problems because the games just make references to each other. They aren't really supposed to be a coherent timeline. They like to have little nudges to the idea that this could be the future of a past game, but they don't really try to make it rock solid. So the videos are like 40 minutes of people trying to reconcile stuff, and there's always still like contradictions. And Nintendo's like official timeline made like less sense than the fan ones. The first Despicable Me was kind of good, but then they got lazy when they realized cheap stuff sell really well. Yeah. Technically, mushrooms were based on real-life hallucinogenic ones that look similar and reportedly make the user think they're growing in size. Yeah, it's probably like conscious. Like it's based on more directly on Alice in Wonderland, where she does eat mushrooms to grow. Like there's a bit of an asterisk in that she eats mushrooms to go back to her original size, because the potion in the beginning of the book made her small. But anyway, like when they designed them for Mario, they made them specifically look like those ones, which the Alice in Wonderland ones don't. So they clearly like knew about it. But yeah, like the magic mushroom joke is just like the most done to death. Just basic lame joke about Mario, so I'd be very surprised if they don't do it. I feel like they'd only not do it if there's some kind of age restriction, like you can't make a joke about hallucinogenics if they are too similar to real life ones, right? Like you can have Sokka in The Last Airbender eat like a cactus that makes him hallucinate, because there really aren't hallucinogenic cacti. There are poisonous ones, but not hallucinogenic ones. I hope that that's how this word is in English. I'm just kind of directly translating it from Portuguese, but anyway. But maybe if you do it with mushrooms, that would like fall into, showing drug use, even if it's like fantasy mushrooms. Because I feel so sure that the joke, there's the poison mushroom from Lost Levels, that the joke would be, there are the mushrooms that make Mario go big, but then at some point they eat the wrong one, they eat the poison mushrooms, but what it does is make them high or make them hallucinate. If they don't do it, I feel like it would only be if they're worried about being censored. One of the best video game movies I've seen is Professor Layton and Eternal Diva. Helps that the voice cast practically returned in full, and it was animated by the same studio who did the game's cutscene. Yeah, I didn't even know there was a Professor Layton movie, but the cutscenes in the games were really good. They work in puzzles in the story and really well, and make offhand reference to cameos to the game. Sounds cool. Okay, so let me get this straight. The world is in fact Link's ultimate persona. Is that what you're implying? Yeah. The world, when you unlock the Arcana, is like you max out all the social links, then you get the world, and you get a persona that's like the ultimate version of the original like full persona that you started the game with. So if you just came in, I should show it periodically for people. Like this was the previous one, and here is like the sketch for the new one, which is like Breath of the Wild based. I'll just leave it here. I'll take this one out. And then if I Sephiroth, yeah. I just remember there was an anime Mario movie, though it was very charming. It's on YouTube in full. Yeah, I know of it and I've seen scenes, but I never sat down and watched the whole thing. It's really early, right? I think only Mario and like Super Mario and Lost Levels were out, or even just Super Mario. But yeah, it looks like very low budget, but seems I don't know. I like the look of it. Like the animation is kind of TV quality, but I like the designs. Luigi wears yellow and blue for some reason. Yeah. I mean, I think Luigi's colors were really in flux at that point. Like, I'm pretty sure he like regularly looked different in artwork than he did in the games. Like because he was in Mario Bros and then in Super Mario Bros. Let me see if he's wearing those colors in any art. Mario Bros art. Mario Bros arcade art. No, he's wearing green and brown in the arcade art. Then he isn't in the Super Mario Bros art. Wearing blue and green. What is this from? It's like a soundtrack thing where he's wearing blue and green. Yeah, I don't know. Swedish Luigi. Yeah. I don't know, maybe they just wanted to make it more distinct. Like, at least he's not like Mario's like adoptive son without a mustache. That's close enough. What have I done here? The eyes feel so far apart. But personal art makes it work. I'm going to draw the shadows of those by themselves. Okay. I should invert it. It's been way too long. This is not symmetrical at all. But there's a lot of empty space in his face to move stuff around. I think I'll just draw it and then I'll come back. And if I need to move his eyes around, I will. For now, let's just leave him. I've been experimenting with adding a simple gradient as background to my pencil doodles. It's way easier for me than for digital art, like a balanced amount of effort. Want to look at some? Sure, sounds good. Dropping by. I'm not sure I understood what you meant, so then I can opine. Let's see. Oh, cool. Let's paste it here. Boop. How did you do this? Like, it makes them pop out. It's really nice, but did you you just like hand painted a layer on top of it. It looks really nice. It looks like when you zoom in, you can tell that it was added digitally because you see like the border here or where it's like stops. But when you look from far away, it kind of looks, because it's, you know, it's just a filter. It kind of looks like a real thing, like a physical thing. I just selected it and then transparent overlay layer. Yeah, from far away, like this shininess of it makes it look like it's an actual different material. Yeah, it's really nice. Yeah, it makes them pop a lot more. That's pretty good. Yeah, I feel like definitely that's a better way to post your pencil art than digital. You might also, if you have a tablet or something, you might just want to draw straight up digital, like start with digital art. It's so much easier to fix stuff, and you feel a lot better about just doodling a bunch and throwing it away with digital art, because you're not like creating waste, right? Like you're not throwing a bunch of paper away. I always felt kind of bad about that, so it slowed down the amount that I would like draw and start over and erase and experiment and stuff. Just the idea, and even just like the self-conscious thing of not wanting to like just drop a piece that you don't like because now it exists like there physically. Like you can always just crumple it and throw it away, which is what I ended up doing. But it was just like when I switched to digital, I just started drawing like a ton more and just feeling better about restarting things and just practicing by drawing a bunch of drawings one after another. But it's also better for fixing stuff, so I don't know. I really recommend digital art if you have the possibility of doing it. Like, don't think of it as just a thing for doing full art. It's also very good for doodling. Yeah, but physical art's more fun to show to my family. They don't really get the point of digital art. That's kind of weird, but okay. Like, especially when it comes to just doodles. I don't like, you know, it's not like it's between like a painting or which I still find really, you know, close-minded to think that a painting is somehow better than a digital painting, but especially with something that's just drawings. I really don't see the thinking, but okay. I'm kind of not liking his shoulder now that I'm looking at it again. I show some digital art to my family and they ask what it's for. Okay. It's kind of a weird question. It's almost kind of definitional of art usually, not that there is a single coherent definition of art, but usually it's understood as being an end, you know, an end in and of itself. Like if it has a function, kind of disqualifies it. Also need more practice with my tablet skills. More skills don't really transfer, really. I actually had some time before I got a tablet. I had some time where I would sometimes draw with a mouse. Just to do the kind of stuff, digital arty stuff. And I actually got like kinda decent at it. There was a point, like late childhood, where I wasn't that much worse with a mouse than I was with a pencil. But I did really dirty art, like my art looked kind of like this, you know, so it wasn't that big a deal. I'd do like a bunch of lines. It was just the style I was drawing on at the time. Let's flip him again. Still don't really like it. Let's get rid of this neck for now. I need more room on this side. Yes, right. I guess. Okay. I kind of want to sit on this a little bit more. Rather than moving on with Link, I think I'm going to move on a little bit. I'll start the line work for the persona. Because I'm not super secure. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll do this one kind of gradually, here and there, while also working on other stuff. Because I want it to come out good, because the last one. So I always want to go back and take a look at it, fix stuff before it's too late. Now I'm working on some armor stuff because like faces, you can think that they look okay and then you look back and you realize, oh no, this is terrible. But stuff like armor tends to just look fine. Like the worst it can be is asymmetrical. And thankfully like this design is like fully asymmetrical already, so there's not much that you can ruin here. So I just work on some of this until we're done. And then after this series is going to be finally done, and who knows, maybe in the future I can do different Persona things. This is already so out of date, right? When I started it, the newest Persona was Persona 4, so it was very based on that. So like I could eventually, like if I wanted to do like Phantom Thief versions of characters, that would be its own possible different series. But at this point I probably won't, because there's a good chance that upcoming Atlus event that they might like announce a next Persona. It's been quite a while since Persona 5. And if that's the case, I don't want to be, you know, behind again very quickly. So I'll probably wait and do something with whatever that game brings to the table. Like I figure 5 was popular enough that they probably will do something similar to Phantom Thieves, in that the characters themselves kinda change when they're in the other world. So it would probably be something to work with. I would also love if they announced it not to be a PlayStation exclusive, but it probably would be. It's one of the biggest things Sony has at this point. It's nice to get closure here. I mean, I did fully call the series finished back on Tumblr. And you know, did stop making them for years. I only came back when I made a Twitter, so like, I think the original series, the whole thing didn't last a year. So it was probably like from 2015 to 2016, and then I stopped until 2020. So there was a big time when it was just effectively over. But yeah, I didn't think I was going to make like every Arcana, like even like the extra ones from this deck. Like the only thing I didn't do was like the extra ones from the Persona 5 deck, because they wouldn't fit the style. I'd have to basically like design brand new cards. Which could be interesting in its own way, but meh.
especially because the Persona 3 and 4 deck is in a minimalist style, which is the easiest thing to do. It's also like the most boring, overrated visual style in existence. There's good minimalist stuff, but there's so much bad minimalist art on the internet because people with like no art ability can still make something. And like they probably realize that they can't draw, but they don't realize that, you know, the most important thing about art is like aesthetic sense, and they don't have that either. So it's usually just awful. Like being able to physically draw a drawing isn't the main part of art. I think I found your blog through this series, or maybe some Zelda art back in the Tumblr days. Yeah, but I think most of the people who found my Tumblr found it through this series. It was completely like a completely different level, the amount of followers I would get from the series versus the other stuff. Like crossover stuff in general, just like it's a known thing on the internet that like crossover fan art for some reason is just the best thing for getting followers. Sorry about the barking in the background. Persona 3 and 4 use the Raider Waite Tarot deck as a base, while Persona 5 used the Marseille Tarot deck. Yeah, I still haven't gotten to play Persona 5, so I don't really know about that, but I like the art. They did take some stuff from outside the Wade Rider in the, you know, the expanded deck with hunger and stuff, which is lust. But I didn't know that 5, I figured 5 just also took stuff from other decks, but had also probably used Rider Waite because just the most popular version. Yeah, I'm probably actually going to end the stream pretty soon. It's gonna be a shorter one today. Oh yeah. Today I started testing. I had, paused it for a little bit, but I started testing a little bit more the legendaries in Pokemetroid. I'm catching all of them. Really, the only thing that I still have to do, like I'm checking the movesets, how the battle works, which required me to, catch stuff that
is on a decent level to fight them, so I went to like the Sevia Islands and got some Pokemon to fight them. I'm continuing the Ridley save, which is the one where I got Shiny Crate. This is just the luckiest save ever. I got a Shiny Legendary on literally the first try, which is less than 1 in 8,000 chance. And I also just stumbled on a Chansey on the Safari Zone and caught it. It's the ridiculously luckiest save state ROM in the that I ever had. Like, I think that's literally only the second full odds shiny Pokemon I ever found. But yeah, I caught Phantom, I was testing Phantom, and now I'm in front of Dragon. I just really need to do the Pokédex stuff and they'll be all ready. But I want to add something else before releasing the next version. I'm still choosing what that's going to be. I don't want to just add legendaries, I wanted to do something else. Oh, I also made actually all the starters catchable in the game world. You can get Metroids in Mount Moon, and you can get Ridleys to east of like Route 11, which is east of Lieutenant Surge Town. The name escapes me, but yeah. Oh, and X-Parasite are in the Cinnabar lab. Normally there's the major and minor arcana, but in Persona 3 use the universe from the Totaro deck, and Persona 4 use 2 from that as well. Yeah. Totaro are like counterparts to the usual major, but not exactly like reverse. Yeah, because it's like the same. Like, it's a different version of the same card in the way that, you know, there are different versions of the same story where they change one or another thing. So like Lust is like a different version of the same card that ended up as Strength in, I believe, in the Rider-Waite. So yeah, it's just a different tradition, right? It's not like reversed, which just means the opposite in a tarot reading. Which I also, like, because you know a lot, I assume you know this, but just to anyone who doesn't, like, in the Middle Ages when people used tarot decks, it was for games, right? It's for card games. That's what they were made for. It's the kind of card game where there are a lot of, you know, special cards with like a single function. But that's all they were, really. The like tarot reading stuff is very much like a 20th century thing, and that's also when the Rider-Waite deck comes from. Like, they have medieval style illustrations because they, you know, wanted to draw it like that, but it's from like the 1910s, I believe. They started to sell those, and it's the time when like mysticism was getting popular, and that's where like tarot readings come from. In movies, they often like project tarot readings back into like the Middle Ages or the modern ages, and have like Romani doing it, but really it's a 20th century Western thing, like tarot readings. So the whole like reversed thing's more recent than the different versions of the cards. The shiny crate is insanely lucky. Yeah, I was just like, it's really ridiculous. I really, you know, thought about it, looked into it to see could I have affected the odds in some way, but I'm pretty sure it's impossible for me to have affected the odds there. Because it's just a universal thing. It's like when they're randomizing EVs, not EVs, IVs, invisible values for your Pokemon, they'll like give them all like different growth rates, so the Pokemons aren't identical. But there's nothing I could change on create that would make a shiny more likely. So it's just raw shiny odds, 1 in 8,000 something, just pretty absurd. Fool is just a wandering clueless fool, and gay. And Jester is just acting like an idiot, fitting where it's used. I actually didn't know they were used for games that explain the number cards. Yeah, it's just like game, but like we kept the Fool / Jester because we still have the Joker that has like a unique use in most card games. It's just basically that, like they had 23 Jokers, 23 cards with like a unique use aside from just suits and values, you know, with the base cards that are 52 now, 50 being numbered. They actually had more because they had like the Spanish. Nowadays we have like the more popular cards that have Jack, Queen, King, but you have the Spanish one which has like the same suits as Tarot and has the Jack, the Knight, and the King. Tarot had both. It had Knight, Jack, Knight, Queen, and King. And the suits were, you know, swords, coins, cups, and which one did I miss? And clubs. I don't know if you guys, like in Brazil, there are certain games that we use the Spanish cards for. I don't know how popular they are, like just randomly around the world. Maybe it's more of a Latin America thing. But Spanish decks are closer to Tarot. Divination and fortune telling with them became pretty popular. Yeah. Just that, you know, in movies they kind of imply that it was already a thing in the Middle Ages when they were used as gaming cards. Just that's not the case. If death is drawn in the game, it's essentially resetting the playfield, and other cards can now be drawn, like the Celestial ones and Tower. That's why there weren't any Sun, Moon, Star, and Tower bosses in Persona 3. Death wasn't completely drawn yet. Oh, it's fancy, didn't know. I actually looked into it way back in the day, and I saw like different game rules, so I don't know like which game that would be for, but yeah. There was the kind of game that is like simultaneously kind of simple and complicated. Like there are a lot of rules, but the meta isn't very complicated because it's kind of luck of the draw kind of thing. Like there are a lot of cards doing a lot of different things, but what you are doing is pretty simple. It seems kind of similar to, I don't know how it's called in English, let me see, translate. From Portuguese, Bisque, I guess. No, I googled Bisque and it just soup. What the fuck? Then you look up Bisque game and some indie horror game. Okay, I don't know what it is. There's like a game that you play in Portuguese that kinda... That's the one that it reminded me of, but yeah. Also, you guys play Canasta? It's called Canastra in Portuguese, but Canasta in Spanish. It's a card game that is very similar to Mahjong in its rules. The way is like that you want to like discard your cards by setting them into series that are either like sequential or a bunch of the same type, and you drop them down and you wanna drop them at the correct moment. It's very similar to Mahjong, but I think I googled it a long time ago and I couldn't find like any sources saying whether they were related. It kind of seems like a a playing card based port of Mahjong. Why are you looking for games in the soup store? There's a very old video. Yeah. But yeah, I actually think I'm going to call it a day right about now. I'm gonna get some stuff done before I have to then eat and go to my girlfriend's. So yeah, see you guys around then. Just wanted to have at least a check-in today since it's been a while. Good night, my Xeno kid. Thanks for dropping by. Goodbye, have a good one, you too.